Welcome to News Game Plus. I'm Dermie, and I'm here with News Game Plus executive producer Jason O'Callaghan. Sorry, I wasn't smart enough to think of another clever thing again. So
I mean, it's been less clever things than there has been clever things. At this point, the pattern is an
Oh, so you
interesting.
didn't like my bear joke and that?
No, I mean that was like what 2 months ago. Anyway,
Okay, here we go. I'm Hex, and I'm here
uh,
with Barjo.
I have a funny story about glitch for that. We can save it for later.
I'll be junglist. I like junglist.
Yeah, I know.
I
No,
won't,
you like jungler?
I won't start
You?
that. Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
Oh my God.
Actually, you can be Kapowski. Remember that?
Jesus.
Anyway,
Or I
what
could
we
be Jason from New Game Plus. How about that? Or level 3. How about that?
what TV station you want?
Yeah, right. All right. All right. All right. Be that guy. Just remember, I pay jungler's salary. That's all I'm saying.
I took my son to see Lewis Spears. I know you're a big fan of Lewis
Oh,
Spears.
he's the funniest person on the planet.
And
I
he
mean,
goes,
him and bowel cancer fight for the spot of funniest.
he's not about. I don't know why you hate all these guys, but anyway. So
Oh no, sorry, bowel cancer, Lewis Spears, and Neil Kolhaktar. They're all in that thing of terminal disease or comedian.
But
Like,
my son goes to me, "Oh, it's really cool, Dad. Thanks for taking me because I finally got to meet someone who's on YouTube." And I'm like, "Yeah, get fucked." I've got like 50 videos on there. So anyway, he go, and then he goes, "I'll listen to him when you're dead, Dad." So
I'll play him at your funeral.
yeah, okay. So that's the price of fame.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been watching a lot of CrackerMilk. Have you ever seen CrackerMilk?
The hell is CrackerMilk?
I don't know. Well, I have a funny feeling it's like the Sydney comedy crowd, like maybe even with who was that guy that tried to do New Game Plus Pocket? Not Good Game Pocket. New Game Plus Pocket. Anyway, they're funny as anyway. If anybody's bored, go to CrackerMilk on YouTube. They have some of the funniest little comedy sketches, but I can't work out who they are. But I have a funny feeling one of us will know some people behind it.
Is it called CrackerMilk?
CrackerMilk.
Cracker.
Like cracker is in biscuit
Like the
or
cookie. Yeah,
the
yeah,
insult
you got
in
it.
America,
Yeah.
which I didn't even know was an insult. But
Yeah, because
yeah,
you're
everybody-
Australians. Yeah, we got different problems.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and you
Who
do
are the
cracker-
members of CrackerMilk? Never
Yeah,
heard of any of them.
well,
That's all right. That's all right.
Barjo's been on a few times.
Ah, okay. Oh, is that?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So, but they're funny as hell. Go check out CrackerMilk.
Okay.
They're very good. Where was I going? Game podcast. I got to open with the risk of you ranting for an hour about people on Helldivers. What have you been playing?
So lately, because so I was in Japan. Obviously, that's why we had the 2 week kind of break, and we just had PAX. So now we're back to record this one. I've been playing a lot of my Steam Deck. So I've been playing a lot of games I already own, but Monster Hunter World, and so I have been playing Helldivers as well because that works on Steam Deck, albeit not great.
What do you mean not great?
As in it's too high spec for the Steam Deck, just a little bit. So it's like so you lose a bit of frames, but nothing serious. I mean, I play EDF, so what's the difference to me, right? That's a game where I lose frames and I kill bugs, so it's the same game, right?
I eat it. That's good. That's because a lot of spiders.
Well, I kill bugs and robots and I lose frames. That's EDF. If you describe EDF, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been playing Space Marine, and I get why Space Marine is popular, and it's a very good game. It's not going to factor in my game of the years this year because I play, like I said, I've clocked 14 games this year. Some of them old, but yeah. And then actually more than that. I think it's more than 14. Anyway.
Space Marine. I had that on the CD32.
Yeah.
Good game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, well, this is a continuation of the one that was on 360, I think.
What is a new one?
Well, that's new for your standards, sure. But there's one that came out, like Space Marine 2 came out like about a month ago. Yeah. And,
my son came and spent a bunch of birthday money on it a little while ago. So, Dad, can I catch in some money for Steam money so I can buy this? I'm supposed to study, but you know.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's only year 12. He can just take
Doesn't matter.
He can take a gap year. I'm sure your wife will be all happy about it.
He was actually happy when we popped into PAX. We'll talk about PAX later, but popped in PAX and went to see like some of the game dev courses and that.
Yeah.
And they were basically saying we got creatives coming out our ass. We desperately need programmers.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Very happy.
Yeah. So the other one as well with that is the state government just announced one for graphic design and visual effect design and game development stuff like that as well. So that's the government.
In Canada, it's a $4 billion industry.
Yeah.
Whereas at least the government here, as long as the government doesn't change, because the libs won't fund anything that doesn't come out. If you could dig games out of the ground, they'd fund it.
Yeah.
But you can be a big industry and the. Well, I've started PAX talk now. I suppose we can go.
Hey, we'll just go straight into this one.
I was going to say what I've been playing is a game called Xenocrisis on my FK.
Yeah.
Because I live in the past.
I know
Pretend.
Xena Crisis. Yeah, yeah,
I like pretending the last 30 years just didn't happen.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So apologies to my wife and
Yeah,
kids who
yeah, yeah.
came along in those
I,
30 years.
I always say, you remember a pre 9/11 world, right? Well, that's always the line I use.
It was a change.
Yeah.
Man, geez, imagine if they didn't. Anyway, the what
So
was I
they'll
saying?
put Liz Cheney in soon. She can steal another election.
Yeah, it's funny how she's going to protect democracy
Yeah, yeah.
and literally stole an election. But where was I going? Is Xena Crisis? It's actually a modern retro game. There's a big community at the moment of making games for Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, and that. Even Atari 7800 and that.
Yep.
And they're modern games, but made on those consoles. So they're still restricted. The graphics have still got that charm that those. For some reason, those retro games have a charm. The
Yeah.
way because you got limited pixels
Yes.
colors to work with. And some of them are really cool. So I've been really enjoying playing Xeno Crisis.
That's one of my, and it's perhaps a more controversial opinion. Media makes the art, right? So if you say, here are the restrictions we have, it reminds you of think of in the 70s and 60s, you had all these avant-garde cinema creators, and they were like, here is something, we're making an art movement of games of movies that is this, and it requires these things to be considered part of it, or at least some subversive element that acknowledges it, whatever. And I think we're kind of hitting that point with games, especially indie games, where it's like, here is these self-imposed limitations. You know what I mean? We saw it with chiptunes for years. Now they're using. I only have an 8-bit, sound recorder or a sound creation tools and kit, and in and of itself, then you have to work inside those limitations. It's what you manage to do inside those limitations that make the thing jump out. And obviously that there is still that element of most games are still chasing 60 frames, and it's all about the modern stuff. That's your pop culture, right? But at the same time, there still is room to be the best jazz album in video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a charm in that sort of thing. The hardware is very well known now, so they can work with it pretty well. It's a really vibrant community of Super Nintendo, Atari 7800, Mega Drive, Dreamcast. There's a game.
You still get shmups on Dreamcast every year or so.
Yeah. Sternwind, fantastic. It's a couple of years old now. It's a fantastic shoot 'em up. There's also a racing. What's that game with cars? What's it called?
Rocket League.
Rocket League. It's like that. It's not nearly as complicated on the Dreamcast. It even supports multiplayer.
Nice.
Like over the internet.
Yeah.
So there's still a very
you're using your 56K modem.
There's still a very. I've been looking around trying to get a broadband modem. Next time you're in Japan,
look.
I might get you to try and track one down. Because there's people set up their own servers, things like Fantasy Star Online and that, and they have they're in America, but you can probably join in from Australia. But what I'm getting at is the modern retro game sort of scene is pretty vibrant.
Yeah.
Looking at PAX, there was a lot of indie stuff there.
Yeah.
Hey, was I mistaken? Nintendo and Sony weren't there? That's interesting.
Xbox were. Microsoft were there in multiple capacities.
We'll get to Microsoft.
I know that for a fact.
We'll get to Microsoft soon because that's going to be we have to talk about Microsoft.
Legal disclaimer for me time, but yeah.
You can just opt out.
Yeah.
We're going to make another forbidden podcast.
Yeah.
But when I get going on this one.
I mean, we used to get stuff from Sony, and we've done how many episodes, so yeah.
Well, I'm going to give Sony an apology later. But anyway, we'll get to that. So, but the way AAA games are going, they've kind of where do they go, right?
Yeah.
Other than predatory monetizing and trying to turn it into a casino.
Yeah.
Whereas your indie games are approaching the tools they have available are approaching.
Yes.
There. Yeah. And they're getting good, and they've got varied ideas because your corporations can't have an original idea to save themselves. Literally.
And anything that does, they'll ruin in the sequels, right? Because they're like, oh, now it's a known franchise. Time to get the milkers.
Yeah, then the focus groups come in. They do a brainstorming session with managers, and Steve Jobs had a good interview once where he said companies, especially in America, but I'm sure it's here in Australia from what I've seen as well, they value the sales side of the business a lot. Yep. So they promote the salespeople, and they're not good. So they don't promote the engineers and the developers. Yep. So you end up with a company that is just full of people who don't understand the business, don't understand the product, but all they can think of is sell. And a lot of salespeople, I've been to sales seminars over the years. And they have the attitude of, well, you can sell anything. Follow this system for selling, you'll sell anything. And it doesn't matter what the product is necessarily. And that's where companies find themselves. Whereas the indie stuff, that's where the imagination is. And that's even if it's stuff like just power washing simulator.
Yeah.
That's where the imagination is, and they're getting to a point where the graphics and appearance on indie games is only a couple of years behind what you see on AAA games. So you wonder if AAA games are just like a dead area, like the back room of
Well,
the club with the pokies in it.
I think a lot of the time, like I think that's where I would say with Warhammer, I wouldn't call it a AAA game, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as if anything, it's nice to have games that are just simple, self-contained little fun morality plays that go for 12 to 15 hours, and then they offer these other ways to play the game as well. And because obviously it's tough with video games because it's a medium that, as a general rule, you pay for. So money is inherent to its operation. Whereas music's different. Like obviously, wealth has always consumed art, and money has always kind of taken the precedent. But you can still just pick up a guitar and play, right? Whereas like with video games, because of the nature of it, there is a certain commercial aspect to it. Whereas, and so I think you have to factor that in when you talk about price, when you talk about what you got it for and stuff. But at the same time, I think it can't just be that. It can't just be how much game can I fit in, how much consuming can I do? You know what I mean?
I think indie games are getting to the point where you pick up a guitar and play.
Yes. Yeah.
Because in the old days, when I first started programming, every computer came with BASIC, and you just start programming, right? And so it appears like we're getting back to that in a different way, to being able to produce something of good quality.
Yeah.
The barrier is lower as long as you can code. And my son, who's a programmer, wants to get into that sort of stuff. He was so excited to talk to all these game dev courses at PAX and find out.
I was like, does the world need another video game producer? Probably not. Do they need a programmer?
They
Probably.
need programmers, yeah. They need and he can't do design. I've seen his stuff. He's like me. He's a programmer, but he'll spend all day working out how the shotgun shells come out of a little game in the gun the game is made, and the sniper bullets and that, and tell me all the formulas he's used. But I'm going, can you just add like sound, just like a banger? No.
No. Well, why? Why would I need that? I don't need that.
He is, because his little autism goes, it's not important.
He literally puts in front of a microphone, claps. There's your sound, done. It'll work.
So anyway, there's good game stuff. I'll get back to PAX later, so you can have a little talk about the experience of PAX. Jason was at PAX on the weekend and stuff. And also there's a big game out before that.
Big game's not out yet.
Yep. So, but let's go quickly through a little bit gaming news, and I'll have a rant, and then we get Jason at PAX. This is quick Nintendo stuff. Nintendo's released an alarm clock.
Yes.
For some reason,
$170 alarm clock.
I know, but why do I want it?
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't mean that's okay. For some reason, I want one.
So this is something that they you saw the prototypes with the Legend of Zelda Game and Watch clock. They did it with the Mario one as well. So they're like clocks, and they have like the different Zelda noises and stuff. You use as like a bedside clock. I mean, it's such a Japanese thing to even have a bedside clock.
Hey, we should explain a little bit what it does. If anyone hasn't seen it, it is a bedside clock. It's in the sort of Nintendo.
It's an alarm clock for all intents and purposes.
And effectively, the alarm is sounds from a game. So when you wake up, it'll start a game sounds, everything from Animal Crossing to Pikmin to Mario. Zelda, and if it detects your movement, it'll play like sounds from the game. So if you go to Mario setting, go dilling dilling with coins. I suppose that's to encourage you to actually get up, and then when you get up, it'll turn off. It's not complicated necessarily, but there's something about it. How did Nintendo do this?
Because you know it's going to be well made. You know that it's going to have a certain level of. Obviously, you've got the charm of their properties and stuff like that. Sure, but like, I think more than anything else, it just comes down to. I think we are kind of hitting the point where people are going back towards these bespoke retro devices. Do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds strange to say, but even I've considered getting an alarm clock because, either my phone's not with me or it's not on me. And it's like, but why do I need to have my phone as this central tool? And a lot of people are, and we always say, oh, people are switching off their smartphones. Like, they're really not. But the fact of the matter is, if you have these bespoke items that are well made, that are quality, that offer, so here's a unique twist on X. Yeah, they're likely to consider it. I mean, both sales in Japan and Australia are now based on a ballot. You have to enter a ballot like a lottery, and good luck to you. Because the scalper, the pre-orders for the scalpers are going to go up to $500, guaranteed.
We saw that device you talk about come back with the Apple Watch.
Yes.
And suddenly everyone started.
Suddenly was wearing watches, right?
People wear watches for 20 years, right? So So yeah, Nintendo. It's only a matter of time then. I assume until Nintendo sues all other clock
Yeah,
manufacturers
yeah, yeah.
in the world. Now is Palworld's coming to mobile. Another Nintendo story.
Wow, okay.
Yep. So that'll be interesting because they're in the middle of being sued. But I think your theory is correct. Nintendo just wants their cut
Yeah.
because they don't seem to be stopping.
So one of the things that I caught on the ground of TGS, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, I won't mention names anyway. It seems to be that the conversation seems to be around the Pokeball mechanic, the Palworld ball mechanic.
Oh,
If
yeah.
they change that from a ball to something else and they remove the gesture, they're probably safe. And so that'll be the conversation. And then, like you say, I think Nintendo will just say, or license it from us,
Yeah, give us a
and
cut.
and we leave you alone for the rest of the time. And I think if they're smart, they'll go, well, instead of making 2 billion, we'll make 1.9 billion. So I think we just shut the fuck up and make our 1.9 billion.
Yeah, yeah. So Nintendo needs the cash, so that's good to see.
Yeah, well, that's true. It's always these hard struggling little things. I mean, this is a conversation around Apple with their 5G because they're doing their own 5G antennas now for the SE. They're
Are
going
we?
to do it. Yeah, so the SE4 or whatever it is. Oh God, stop. Yeah. So
There's something beeping in the
yeah,
background.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not a pager. Don't panic.
yeah. So yeah, and so it
Oh, there
oh
we go. It goes
God.
again. Yeah, I think it's the alarm telling you to get up. We talk about the Nintendo clock, and it's triggered all the social
Yeah, yeah,
networks.
yeah.
They've heard you.
I've upset him. I've upset him.
Don't talk about another clock.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna have to turn it off.
Okay, turn it off.
Yeah. Sorry. Keep
Anyway,
going.
Pelworld coming mobile. Hey, another one. I'll leave this time for PAX. I'll move through these. Steam Deck is officially coming to Australia.
Yeah.
Now that'd be awesome news if I didn't just organise someone who went to Japan to play one for me in Japan.
Yeah.
My son doesn't listen to this podcast until I'm dead, so that's
I
okay.
didn't know.
God damn.
I just didn't know, and because I like whatever, like Gaiman's had it set on us since we made them do
It was
refunds,
a
like,
bargain when we got it at that price, and then
and
now
it's still cheaper. Like
only
it
about
was, yeah,
$40 something
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. All right, well, look, that's fine. But it was funny, like, and this is one of my pack stories. So they had Casey, who's their PR manager now for Valve, and she basically got hired for the international, for the Dota International. She was like a local news host and like interviewer and journalist and stuff. And so she got hired for the international just to help him with the interviews at short notice. And she became such like an integral part of it. And it was always one of those things where you'd see her doing interviews, you'd see her doing things, and because she had the experience with interviewing, she'd interview these players and bring out these really kind of good answers out of them. Whereas like a lot of the esports interviewers are just like, so how did you play? Like it's a footy thing. How'd you go to the game? Oh, team really bound together and we
Oh, yeah,
we
we
got
just
through for
take
the win.
1 week at a time.
1 week at a time, the
Yeah,
usual
nah.
crap, right?
Yeah,
And,
nah.
and she would say that, she goes, do you think that had an effect on the way you like, or whatever it was? She'd ask these really good questions. I remember just thinking, that's great to see. We've got this diverse range of people here, blah blah blah. She was at PAX. She was selling the Steam Deck. So
Mm.
basically, Hayden was talking to her about some of our other business, and he goes, "Oh, I spoke to this Casey from Steam. She seems nice, blah blah." I'm like, "Hang on, Casey's here? Cool." And I was in my hotel room, showered, got dressed, made myself look remotely presentable because I just come off working glitch till 7 in the morning, and
Mm.
walked down and said to her, "I'm really sorry to do this, but do you mind if I get a photo? I never do the selfie thing, but can I get a photo with you just to like, yeah?" And so it was yeah, that's my PAX Steam Deck boost story. Looks good though. I mean, Steam Deck's good. You've had to play with mine. You know what it's like.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to look at mine from
Yeah, it's on its
Japan.
way. It's 1 week away. Don't worry about it. Don't look at it.
We got
Don't
it,
look at it.
we got it like a week before
Yeah,
before it got announced in Australia.
yeah,
I just hope it doesn't break down. Now another Steam story. I've got multiple stories for different companies now. Steam has been forced to add like a little disclaimer when you purchase something, stating that
yes,
you are purchasing a license, not a product.
yeah. But
Good old games went and trolled, then added to their checkout screen saying you are purchasing the game.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Good on Gelg. So
Because GOG is CD Project Red now, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, Steam had to add that. This is, I still maintain, when Gabe goes, the whole PC game industry is
I was talking
fucked.
to Glear and Co about it while we were out having beers, and I said, I wonder what happens to Valve when Gabe goes. I hope there's enough people with the purity of vision to keep it out of the
What, in
fucking
the video
vulture.
game industry? Good one.
But no, but Steam has cultivated a commune, if you will. Like there's a like is in thing. But I mean, you look at it now since Miura died, so one of my favorite manga artists, he did Berserk. Now that he's died, there's a lot more toys on shelves that do Berserk stuff, right? Suddenly the licensing's gone up. You know, all these things you just see, and I'm just like, I hope it doesn't turn into that, and I hope that they manage to keep these goddamn vultures away from it. You know what I mean?
Whether it's video games or like a book like Lord of the Rings or whatever it is, as soon as the money people get involved,
Yeah.
they will just kill it. They've got to read more fairy tales like The Goose and the Golden
Yeah,
Egg
yeah.
sort of thing just to learn this. But they don't care. It's infinite growth. That's a problem with every industry, and gaming is no different. But anyway, so when Gabe goes, and Steam gets
I
picked
do
up by
worry.
venture
Yeah.
capitalists, I'd be very concerned.
I agree.
Now, okay. I'll move on to this one. So, they announced the nominations for the Golden Joystick Awards. That's a UK thing, isn't it?
It's it's
Oh, I
future
might be
era.
wrong.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
No, I think
Australian.
you're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
It needs
It's
to be an
not.
Australian one. Why doesn't Events Engine do an Australian
Oh,
video?
yeah. Do that again. So yeah, we got the list up here. So if you want to do
Okay, I won't go through the whole thing, but the notable one that got stiffed is Black Myth Wukong.
Yes. And because I was just about to say, I haven't seen Wukong here, which is interesting.
Which is weird because what was I saying a couple of podcasts ago about the outright racism
Yeah. Interesting.
it's a Chinese game. Now, this
No,
is
it's because no journalists have played it. If I'm being real, like yeah.
yeah, because they're racist and they won't go near it because it's a Chinese game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Um,
That's one interpretation. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. I know where there's so much in Australia, but in America, they anyway, they're fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the other thing is it's voted because IGN got caught rigging a vote.
Yes.
Did you see that to try and
I
make
did
sure
read
Black
that. Yeah.
Wukong didn't win? In this case, it's been left out of the game of the year, and that's caused a lot of.
Helldivers 2, console game of the year. There you go.
It wasn't there originally,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
worked that one out.
All the backlash. Yeah.
Yeah, but Black Myth. So yeah, there is an issue that a lot of there's a lot of they go, oh, we put black person in this game and all that, and they go, we're not racist. And you go, yeah, well, the treatment of Black Myth Wukong, this is the hill I'll die on. There's a lot of racism
It's
involved
because
there.
it's China, and they're told that China.
China's the enemy.
Yeah.
You look at videos out of China; they're going to be living in science fiction.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're living in third world countries,
Yeah.
and we don't know it yet. But that's why they hate them.
Yeah.
And also Chinese, you see the Olympics, they did good in swimming and that. And I think one of the things that seriously pisses a lot of people off is that Chinese are really, really good at white things.
Well,
like swimming. They're not dominating track and field. If they were dominating track and field, right, and beating all the black guys, a lot of the Americans would be like, oh, we're a bit okay with that, right? Because that's how it works. But because they're beating all the white American swimmers, they're like, hang on. That's like white person stuff.
It is always funny when you look
I'm calling it out. I'm going woke.
Yeah.
I'm calling it.
It is interesting to see because Australia always overperforms. Considering the size of us, we absolutely overperform in the Olympics.
That's because we have good asthma medication here.
Yes. How did you know I was going to say that? I'm like, because Ventolin, cheap, right?
You say that.
I was like, because Ventolin's cheap, and that was going to be the throwaway quip I made. Oh dear.
Okay, because let's move on to another one now. Here's a big video game story. A man who beat his wife is wondering why she left him. Oh wait, no, I've read that wrong. Microsoft wants to know why devs won't make Xbox games. Sorry, my eyes are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go.
It's corporate wants you to tell us the difference between these two pictures.
So yeah, so I can help Microsoft out with that. Don't sack everyone's friends. Don't go spending billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars, buying places, shutting them down, even if they make good games, and then
let me be clear. I for the rank and file Microsoft, especially in the dev side, I genuinely feel sorry, right? Because the unbelievable lack of direction that's coming. I have my issues with the way Jim Ryan ran Sony, right? But they were trying to achieve
was he
something.
the guy that couldn't speak Japanese?
Yeah, House could. House is Japanese.
No, but wasn't there some American guy who took over Sony for a while, couldn't even speak Japanese?
And then now they got a German guy.
Okay.
But basically they moved it out of Sony, out of Japan into America. They make it an American company, all these kind of things, and a lot of their games just became Sad Dad Simulator or Horizon, and for whatever reason Horizon got this huge push. But they have a plan. They're following it. I think it's a silly plan at times, but at least it's like, here is the vision we are going to attempt, and off we go. Microsoft couldn't sit like they can't figure out what they're doing week to week, let alone ongoing. Like they spend all this money building up the Game Pass numbers, and now they don't care about Game Pass, so they're getting rid of the
Yeah,
exclusives that are on
yeah.
Game Pass. They're putting them on like we've confirmed. I'm pretty sure we've confirmed that Indiana Jones is going to Sony after 6 months and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm
the
just
new
like,
Halo game's rumored to be going to PlayStation.
yeah,
as well.
well, so that's why they're moving Halo development to Unreal, so they can port it easier. Well, that's the rumor. That is the rumor. That's not confirmed.
I'm gonna rant on Unreal in a moment.
And I'm like, and I'm
See, there's my Unreal notes.
yeah, right. And I'm just like, that's crazy to me that like, I don't know. I genuinely feel bad for the rank and file Microsoft, even the lower managers and the people working in those roles, because it must be tough to have just such scattered upstairs thinking. And I wonder where it stops. Like, I wonder if it's a Phil Spencer thing, or if it's the people he brought in, or it's even higher. If it's
He's
if
been
it's a
there for a while.
Nadella being slapped down, like yeah,
He's been there for a while. I don't know. See, he hasn't shown signs of being mad
yeah,
so far, right? Because they had that after Matric, they seemed to be in control, right?
yeah.
It's only relatively recently when they spent all the money, and that
I,
that'd be the upper
yeah,
management
and
saying we need money back.
I think that to me, if you were to ask me to guess, and this is pure speculation, I base it on nothing except my experiences in the world and my conversations I have with other people. I think that's it. I think it was he convinced them that Activision wasn't going to be an albatross, and then once the England decision came back and the UK blocked it, right, and it became difficult, because who would have thought the UK would block it, but the EU would approve it? I for certain am sure that the UK thought that the EU would block it. And they'd get covered.
EU is normally they're the bane of corporations.
They're the
normally.
bane of corporations, and they already hated Microsoft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The EU was no friend of Microsoft, and they waved it through. They didn't care, and I'm like, yeah,
Somebody got a beach house.
well, I think it's honestly just more because I don't like the argument about it affecting competition. I don't think is inherently true. I think it was a bad argument in the first place. I'm surprised that the UK upheld it. Like I think that was the beach house one. Someone whoever was working in the office, and there was always the rumors of the guy who did it worked on the Sony legal team, blah blah blah. And
so it's like a Dreamcast.
yeah, your mate Peter, yeah.
I'm not naming anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Might have.
And yeah, and so I don't know. I feel like I really feel bad because yeah, obviously they
Quacks like a duck.
they were the only ones showing at PAX this year. Like they had a big booth and were showing off a lot of stuff, and they were partnering with a lot of people to try and bring in more interest. Like the big push now is Lenovo, their version of the Steam Deck, the Lenovo Go, whatever it's called, Legion. You could activate your Game Pass games on it because it's running Windows, but the problem is Windows 11 is not optimized for handhelds. Like it's not like the Windows 7, Windows 8. You can say what you want about it, but it was for handhelds and it was good for that. You know what I mean? Like
there's other Windows or Linux, and nobody makes embedded systems anymore. That's another story.
Yeah. So yeah, I somewhat agree with you. I think it's going to be an interesting few weeks.
I gotta apologize to Sony and say I was wrong, because back when the PlayStation 5 came out, I thought that was going to be their last console, because PlayStation 5 was a knee-jerk reaction to the Series S and Series X, right? And Sony had to get something else because it's a bizarro mental disorder that the game industry has where there's console generation.
Yeah.
Right, and I've never fully understood it.
Well, for the last few weeks, Nintendo started blurring it very early on with like expansion packs and the revisions and
Pro and
exactly.
But they've got this, so Sony had to rush it out, and the PlayStation 5 is it's not that good, right?
Well, the launch was rushed. They weren't going to do backwards compatibility, but Microsoft forced them to do that.
Stuff. At that point in time, I thought Microsoft was in control, and
at least of the narrative, they were controlling the zeitgeist, if you will.
Yeah, and I was quite happy to say at the time that PlayStation 5 was the last PlayStation console. I couldn't see how they'd survive because they were just reacting to everything.
Yeah.
And since then, Microsoft has just done mistake after mistake, and spending heaps of money on studios, shutting down devs, and now they can't even. They're like going, "Oh, why won't anyone develop for the Xbox?" Well, yeah, I'll probably because the thing about gaming, you know this more than me, that in all of video gaming, there are very tight knit communities.
Yes.
Every little sub community is really tight knit, right? You piss one off, you're going to piss them all off. They're very cliquey.
Yeah.
And for Microsoft not to understand that is just bizarre to me. So it can't have come from Phil Spencer and that level down. It had to come from above, higher up.
No, I do agree. So I feel like it is definitely the corporate, the higher up, because in the grand scheme of things, like Microsoft makes a couple of billion a year or whatever, but Microsoft itself makes like multiple tens of billions a year.
Right now, why would you buy a console that's not Nintendo right now?
Agreed.
Why wouldn't you buy a Steam Deck and a Switch right now?
Yeah, and that's
Or
yeah,
PC Master Race?
that's what people say. They're like, I've got a PC or a Switch, or I've got a PC, PS5 or Switch. No one says I've got an Xbox. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
no. Well, you were in Japan, and definitely nobody says it
yeah, yeah.
there.
Yeah, I did all the even in like even in Yodobashi and stuff now. Like you'd be lucky to find a bay with games in it. You know what
You
I mean?
didn't see.
It's just
I noticed that there's nothing Microsoft in Japan.
yeah, yeah. There's Game Pass cards you can buy. That's it. There's no games. Yeah,
What was I talking about? Treating people badly.
yeah.
American video game company was always going to struggle, but yeah. So right now, you'd have to ask him. But even PS5, I'd have to say, well, why would I buy PS5? I don't think either are particularly good. In the over 30s and over 40s groups, I mean, on Facebook, because obviously that's the only people left, the overs. They're all like arguing over Xbox and PlayStation. I'm like, you guys are living in the past. 'Cause
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, you'd buy a Steam Deck and a PC, and you'd buy a Switch for the Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo's the only one that understands that those exclusives are really valuable.
Well, see, the only flip I would give you there is that my Steam Deck has replaced my Switch. In the if I'm not playing a Nintendo exclusive, I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
buying.
what I mean, though. Yeah.
I'm not buying it on Switch. The performance is going to be worse. It's going to cost me more. Like it's going to be like the updates are not going to be one to one with it,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? So in my world, I don't play my Switch that much. That said, conversation will change when Switch 2 comes
Yeah,
about.
but if you want to play Splatoon, because my kids still play a lot of Splatoon and that,
Yeah.
right? There's only one play.
Yeah.
Even though you can emulate it, we can get
Yeah,
cut down.
yeah.
I mentioned that. at the
Yeah, said the
Lexi
E word. Yeah, yeah. The door just kicks in.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for a Nintendo thing. You just buy a Switch. But
Yeah.
all right, cool. Now, one last thing.
Yeah.
How are we going for time? We're not
Yeah,
too bad.
We got 15 minutes.
And now again, I'm going to give Microsoft the backhand as well because actually that's not the best way to put it, is it? That's an old way to put it. I'm going to give Microsoft a say bad things. And this is about 343, who is
Yeah.
now Halo Studios, and they're moving to Unreal. They're ditching slip space
Yeah.
because apparently nobody there knows how to use it. Because apparently nobody there works for longer than 10 months. I'll get to that in a moment. So
Definite culture problems. Yeah.
amazing issue there. So they're moving to Unreal. Now there's like an industry move to Unreal at the moment.
Yeah.
So CD Projekt Red is moving from Red Engine to Unreal. Konami apparently moving from Fox Engine
Yeah.
to Unreal for Metal Gear Solid Delta. Is
Yes.
it? So you
The
got.
Fox Engine was basically created by Kojima's side of the business.
Oh, okay, well, no wonder they don't like that. So and Bethesda, well, Bethesda's Microsoft, but apparently they're looking to Unreal for Elder Scrolls 6. Now,
But thank Christ, no more Gamebryo.
okay, but this is for a company that size. I see those lame. Now, Mankind Divided had a special engine built fit Dawn engine. Just Cause 4 had a special engine fit Apex game engine,
Yeah.
which had weather effects because they wanted to do the tornado.
But they use that a lot. Avalanche still use that a lot.
But the thing is, these studios have their engine that does what their games want, right?
Yeah.
And this is what Slipspace or whatever Microsoft was using originally for Halo, it does what they want.
Yeah.
And that's what when you've got a game, you've got a game that plays a certain way, a certain style, and I think for a company like Microsoft with billions of dollars, it's the equivalent of if I walked into a corporation in Australia and they were using Wix for their website.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, gotcha.
It's sort of lame. It's sort of and
for a company that doesn't sell hardware technically, sells software and prides themselves on being one
can't make a
of the
game engine.
software correct is one of the software leaders. So
Yeah.
I mean, for what it's worth, you use those examples, but you've got EA using Frostbite, you've got Ubi using their one, you've got Capcom using RE Engine, stuff like that.
Well, how long until they move? Because
I mean, yeah.
We know why they're going Unreal. Let's
Yeah.
say it because you're about to say it, aren't you?
No, yeah.
It's for the contracts,
Yes.
right? And because now I might have the amount wrong, but I think it's in 10. If somebody doesn't work for more than 10 months in America, you don't have to cover their healthcare.
Yeah.
So what Microsoft's doing now, they found $70 billion to spend on Activision. Is
Yeah.
Activision to spend on to
Activision,
buy their
yeah.
rape dungeons, right?
Yeah.
They must have been very impressed when they visited it.
And even then, I mean, they're using a modified Quake 4 engine, I'm pretty sure, for Call of Duty nowadays.
They could find that money to do that, but they can't find the money to pay employee health care and to make their own engine. So what they want is they want this rotating group of devs going in and out or just getting 10-month contracts, just to not. What the fuck is it with Americans, right? Where they're either burning you alive overseas, or if you live in America, they want you to work, but they
Yeah.
won't take care of you. Yet they have $70 billion to spend
Yeah.
on another
Welcome to
company.
corporate America, right?
Like,
Welcome to corporate everywhere, really.
so what you end up with is okay. Now nothing against Unreal. Unreal can do some cool stuff, right?
It's a great
But
engine. You can use it in the video world now, yeah?
But if you were going to make some, like the thing with Just Cause 4, their engine was made because they wanted that tornado effect.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic to play. I've seen my son play tons of it, right?
Well, I play that hunting game. That's on the same engine.
So, but it does what they want, right? And they make an engine that can do their game justice, their vision justice. Yet they're so concerned with paying healthcare to their staff that they would rather just say, no, we'll just use Unreal. And then they're like slaves to Unreal's
Yeah.
movement. So what happens if Unreal changes their
What if,
license?
yeah, what if Tim changed his mind? Yeah.
So to me, for an indie dev or for a small dev, yeah, I understand. Use Unreal. You don't have time to be writing a game engine. You probably can, but you just don't have time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if you're Microsoft and you're worth billions and billions of dollars and you have billions to throw away on buying game studios as vanity projects, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, I
Like,
think
just to avoid healthcare,
I-
just to fuck your workers over. And then let's get to the other story. You go, why won't anybody make games for us? Because you cunts.
yeah. I mean, there goes the explicit rating for the
I
podcast.
always put explicit.
Yeah, I think you're the first one to
That's
drop
it.
it. Yeah.
That's it. They just can't get it through their thick fucking heads. Just hire good devs.
Yeah.
Keep them on. That's why companies like Bungie and Blizzard and that were like 10 years ago, they were making just the finest games we've seen. And gaming peaked, right, probably early 2010s, right?
Yeah.
It was that 10-year period from early 2000s, early 2010s where the devs finally have the hardware that they could deliver the visions they wanted
Yes.
before the predatory monetization started getting slammed in. That was the peak. And the games back then are still some of the finest games. And people even you go back to the graphics of a Batman Arkham Asylum and go, how come it looks so fucking good compared to now? Right?
But that's a conversation of art styles, right? Like
They had skilled developers and they didn't keep replacing them every 10 months with the cheapest developers they could because they think that's how they do it. Because they don't replace all the executives every 10 months. No, they replace the devs and the creatives. It gets me worked up. They got all that money to spend. They're trying to work out why people don't want to develop for Xbox, and then they move to Unreal for something like a not just a big game, but Halo. Their fundamental big game. And then they're talking about putting Halo onto PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 fans will be happy, but what are you then?
Yeah.
What are you, Microsoft?
You're doing a Sega. They just followed the Sega trajectory.
Look, like, I love Sega, but look how it worked for them.
Yeah.
Sega's almost irrelevant now. I hate to say it, but they're just not. They at one point they were on par with Nintendo.
Yeah.
Look at them now. There you go. I dropped naughty word. You can beep that.
That's all right. No, you can beep it. You spend the time doing it.
But yeah, so So I apologise to Sony. Sony hasn't done some good stuff as well. But I tell you what, I thought a couple of years ago that Sony was done. Microsoft had everything under control, and they have just done stupid after stupid after stupid.
I mean, this was similar when they had the last batch of. Remember, they had Midtown Madness, and they were doing Microsoft Game Studios, and that era before they went to Xbox. And this just reeks of that again. It just reeks of that upper level Steve Ballmer tier level influence, you know.
Oh, I never put a lawyer in charge of a tech company.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because I think someone said the biggest concern for me is competition. That means that Sony will set the console agenda from now to eternity because they've got no one in that space that competes with them unless people step in that space. And who would? Steam's happy making billions of dollars off a PC.
It's not like Sony are good. I mean, it's like an election. You're just trying to choose which one's not. The one's going to kill you slower.
Yeah. Well, and then Sony will put Phil Spencer on their board. There you go. That's your Kamala Harris joke for Liz Cheney. Anyway,
take that idiot from EA.
Yeah. Old mate Andrew. Yeah.
But anyway, it gets me worked up because they're doing everything they can, and moving to Unreal, people are celebrated. It's going to be easy to develop it. They're doing everything they can to just not pay their workers and not have staff and all the good games that everybody loves. So, because if you get anyone to make a list of their top 10 games all time, how many come from the last couple of years? All timers.
I think. Look, I mean, Red Dead's on mine, but I understand where you're coming from.
But
that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
falling away, right? So these the golden age, I say gaming because that's when like the hardware was good enough
yeah.
to do exactly what they wanted, right? They were made by teams that had been together for a long time. They
Well,
like they were like
that was like you said, AM2s and that kind of thing, because they knew the hardware they were using, they would work
they
together.
were
Because
like
yeah,
bands,
yes,
right? They were like a band. They'd played together. They knew each other.
yeah,
Or like a team that wins premierships. They'd been together for a
yeah.
couple of years and built up. Now you just got Microsoft and other companies as well.
Yeah,
Microsoft's at the moment is desperate to
yeah,
have people to
imagine
come
that
through.
you're trying to make a premiership team, and every season you're changing 90% of the teammates. You know what I
Yeah, so
mean?
you just end up with some shit like Big Bash League,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Which nobody gives a shit about because it's just got nothing,
yeah,
nothing to care about. But yeah, so Microsoft right now, I got to say to you, what are you? What do you do?
yeah.
Like, do you just save money? Is that your like because they're also destroying Minecraft. I've been on this for a long time. They are absolutely destroying. Minecraft brought out a new special update, and I could have made it, right? Like, I'm not kidding. I do a lot of Minecraft mods for my kids, mucking
Yeah,
around and put their faces on creepers and stuff, and
yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? They did a reskin tree and some shitty mob that just had like a heart stuck in a tree that controlled it. Like, it was just the lamest, laziest stuff for a developer team with 640 something people on it, right?
It's crazy.
Just like I've done
And
more code in that with 5 people on
and
teams before.
that again speaks to that lack of vision, that lack of direction. You know what I mean? Like, it's, well, what are we trying to accomplish here? I don't know. I'm just doing what I'm
There's
told.
there's mod developers on the Java Minecraft who are just releasing mods for shits and giggles where they'll lower the bedrock level to like 10,000, so it takes you 3 hours to dig down.
Yeah, nice.
And Microsoft or Mojang, they're having trouble. They're going, we reskinned a tree, or we changed a horse into a camel. Yay! 2 people can ride on. You go, no, what is Microsoft doing?
Yeah,
They're destroying two of the biggest games of all time. They are so desperate not to pay any staff, and this is the goose and the golden egg thing.
yeah,
Like, they moved to Unreal, and it's like, what are you? What do you do? Do you write software? Because right now it doesn't look like you do.
yeah.
It looks like right now you're desperately hoping people buy an Xbox by accident.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's where
Well,
Microsoft
there's
is.
also the rumors that they're not going to resupply the Middle Eastern region as well now. So it's like they've just given up on Saudi and stuff, which because that's Sonyville. And yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Oh, and aren't they all buying Candy Crush and just sinking ten
I
thousand
mean,
dollars a pop into it?
Australia was always Australia and Dota too. They anyway, but Australia was
Well, Dota was
always
all the Russians.
no, but it's also the Saudi oil princes. It's always a joke. So
Okay.
the compendium would come out and they'd be level 10,000 within 4 hours. So just keep buying levels, tapping, clicking the button. Yeah, no, I feel like Australia was always one of the last bastions of Microsoft's strengths, and that's why they attend shows and stuff here. But I don't know, man. At the moment, it's tough. Like, I mean, Game Pass, I still think is still one of the best values in town, even at $20 a
Oh,
month now.
it's good value. You've seen the meme where all the guys go in the dunny and they all start doing the Halo theme.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that's never going to happen again,
yeah,
right? Things like that are never going to happen because nobody's going to care about a Halo. And if Halo comes out on PlayStation, it's going to be generic,
yeah.
right? And it's not because it comes out on PlayStation.
I think they're gonna re-release the first one.
It's
It'll be
gonna
announced.
be,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be generic. You're not gonna know the difference between it and any other first-person shooter, because they're not making it
I
on
mean, but
anything so
they
different.
made that mistake when they made 4 and 5. They tried to turn it into like Call of Duty and stuff. I'm like, people don't want to play Call of Duty. They want to play Halo. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
don't broke what isn't. Yeah, don't fix what isn't broken. So,
yeah. So yeah, Microsoft. Well, what are you doing? You're just there. Like I said, people are gonna. They're just hoping people buy an
yeah,
Xbox accident. I think Game Pass is good value. As a parent, I think it's fantastic. But you look at the monthly releases to Game Pass. They're never exciting at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
There's just nothing there. We talked about tempo releases and that. There's nothing there.
yeah.
Like
I agree.
every month you see the stuff that's added to it, and you go, it's like I don't care.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Anyway, so yeah, so Microsoft, like yeah, no, I look, I don't. And Microsoft not gonna never gonna go broke because they make so much stuff off Azure and that, and selling Word.
Yeah. And that's what I
Shit.
mean. Like,
They're
they're
just
definitely capable of being, like, Azure servers have been a game changer between them and AWS. You know what I mean? Like, it was, yeah, I don't know.
yeah, but their gaming stuff, their Xbox, yeah, I've gone from being worried where Sony's going to be to being worried where Microsoft's going to be, and right now Nintendo's just like skating around
Yeah.
the ring like Stephen Bradbury, just watching those two be
They're just
idiots.
joking because it's like, I people keep wanting them to announce a Switch 2. It's like, we'll do it when we're ready. And he's, and he
They
whenever
have
we're
to.
ready.
Yeah, they can do what they want.
Yeah.
And yeah. So anyway, look, and I couldn't be more. Again, Microsoft wanted to know why people aren't developing the Xbox. I couldn't be more angry with them over what they're doing because their move to Unreal that they're talking about is just purely to not pay developers or creatives. But as a developer, I feel personally nothing
Yeah.
against creatives, but just they just don't want to. And all the best stuff came from teams that had been together and worked together for a while.
Yeah.
Like Halo came from a team that had worked together for years and they knew each other and like it's just and they keep putting out all these other stuff that they're trying to gloss over it all, but the fact is they just this attitude, an American company attitude of just not wanting to pay anybody, just
Yeah.
not wanting to pay their health cover. Like for fuck's sake, just Americans, what are you doing? Like
On that note, we should wrap up because we're coming up to
third
close.
world country
Yeah,
with
yeah.
aircraft carriers. Fucking hell.
Do you want to cover PAX quickly or?
Yeah, you can make a. I'll stop. You go.
Well,
Pax.
no, I mean, yeah, PAX was fine. It seemed to be quiet this year. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I guess we're not enforcing capacity rules anymore, but that's okay. Just a personal observation.
Messages for the backstory
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
one.
yeah. I guess they're not enforcing that anymore. When they had the line there.
I did notice that. It was a little bit weird. I
But
always
no,
thought that was an
we
inside job.
yeah, it was interesting. We had a lot of yeah, like there was a lot of people on booze on the floor and stuff like that, and but it just what didn't have that same spectacle in the showcase area. The smartest one was the atrium got taken over by got taken over by Cult of the Lamb, Jackbox, and Fallout, and the foot traffic through there going back and forth from the theaters. That was a master stroke. It was a great chill zone. People could play
Oh.
Jackbox. They could sit the Fallout 76 area. They could do the Cult of the Lamb stuff and buy the merch. A lot of people were selling merch on the booth, like a lot of the devs. Like Face has just come out on Switch and they were selling the merch for that. So yeah, that was very cool. And
Merch is a big part of an expo like PAX.
I agree, but at the same time they're doing selling floor stuff. Like there was a couple of the big anime distributors who do like Oz Comic Con and stuff like that. And I just don't know if that's the vibe we want for PAX. It was never what it was. It was very specifically aimed to not be that show, but I also understand the realities of keeping the lights on. But yeah, it was like PAX was still great. I'm glad people have that still have that community space.
That dodgeball, live
They
dodgeball.
did. They had Red Bull doing dodgeball.
Yeah,
We had
didn't expect that.
yeah, we had and then we had doing a glitch on the Saturday. So glitch was really good.
The retro area had two Amigas, an Amiga 600 and an Amiga 4000.
Yeah.
And well done to the retro guys because the Amiga 600 was playing Speedball 1, the good
Nice,
Speedball.
right?
The
You don't
one,
like-
the
you don't
one
like-
I'm still Australian champion on,
you-
by the way.
You don't like two. I got it.
I'm like
right.
Billy Mitchell for Speedball.
Oh,
Yeah.
What did you make your one up too?
Yeah.
Allegedly? Yeah.
Well, I'll see you in court, boy.
Yeah. Which that case is still going on. At the
Good
moment,
luck to good luck to Carl Jobst in your court case.
Yeah.
You never know what happens in court because it's
Yeah.
always about money. But good luck to Carl. I hope he succeeds.
PAX was great.
Don't sue me, bitch.
Yeah. PAX was good. It was still worth coming down for. In the end, I got a hotel room and I got it really late. Like I'm talking, I booked my hotel on the Tuesday night.
On PAX weekend.
Yep. And
Cool.
I found I could have picked. I had my choice, and that's unusual. Do you know what I mean? Like
Wow.
I ended up getting an apartment so people could crash if they needed to after the show.
The numbers were still good. It wasn't like there was a drop in.
Well, they reckon that, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I've no. I mean, obviously, they want to sell their numbers as much as possible. They reckon it was the busiest show they've ever had. I call shenanigans on that. I don't think that is, at least from the observer's point of view. I'm not convinced that's true, but we'll see.
They packed them in.
They did.
Oh, there was easy like heaps of people per
Yeah.
meter. I don't know what the number is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's
Yeah.
allowed.
Yeah, 1.5 square per person. I promise you. And the thing with it is a lot of their booths weren't hollow because you can count the inside of booths as long as they're hollow. A lot of their booths weren't hollow. That's interesting.
It's funny we could say
Yeah.
what you want to say, but
Yeah,
anyway,
but-
let's not do
I'm
that.
off my NDA now, but we're just about.
Yeah, let's not.
We got a meeting with them next week, so I don't want to ruin it. But yes, no, it is interesting. Because Anamaga got done for it too. Anamaga got done for capacity, but yeah, another show didn't get done.
You know, because it's disappointing because it does appear like the PAX is good, but I've said to people many times that there's a footy game at the MCG every week
Yeah.
and at Docklands every week in Melbourne for footy fans to go to.
Yeah.
If you go to something like PAX or the Game Expo and that, there's enough people, I believe, to go to an expo in Melbourne every month. A monthly expo.
I would say quarterly. I would agree with you. I think if you had one quarterly,
I
I
wouldn't
think,
have
yeah.
it at the same time. My problem with PAX is it tries to be everything for everybody.
Yes.
And I would prefer to see the expos be more. You can have an expo for anything that's not footy, right? You're going to get the cosplayers turn up anyway because they'll turn up to anything. If you hold any culture expo,
yeah.
cosplayers will just appear.
Of
right?
course.
So I believe you could build that up, but there is a sort of like all or nothing attitude. The video games always had this immature there can only be one Highlander sort of thing?
I'm going to give you, and I can't say names. I'm going to give you some inside goss. I spoke to someone in the industry who I actually look up to as far as their ability to run events and things.
Well, that narrows it down a lot.
Yes, because I don't really respect anyone. That's not true. The right people get my respect, is all I'll say.
Don't fall in my
Don't
joke.
oversell it.
Don't,
Yeah,
fall in my joke. We keep going.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he said exactly the same thing as you, that the niches are what make it. And I think that's one of
Yeah.
the strengths of TGX, is that we have all these niches in the place. It's like, you get people there for chess. Oh, but while you're here, why don't you check out such and such? But I know you're here for chess. Or I know you're here for speed humor. I know you're here for this. And PAX does that, but it does it all in a very
PAX tries to be everything for everyone.
correct, and it's a little bit too wide.
I think it's too big.
Yeah.
I
think having some sideshow attractions is handy. I think it's good to have like you can combine a bunch of communities, but yeah, I think we were doing a bunch of exhibiting and stuff like that and working with them and stuff, and it's just trying to do, yeah, I don't know, it's
I
hard
think
to
you'd have
say.
more. Like if you get 80,000 people a week to go watch Richmond and Collingwood the MCG, you can get 20,000 cosplayers.
Yeah, and it's
to
interesting
event.
because they were like, oh, the AFL is the most important, the most valuable league in the country. So, well, obviously it's compared to NRL, so that's a joke, right? But they were like, oh, they're like the AFL brand is worth 1.3 billion. And I'm like, only 1.3 billion?
Yeah, you
like,
go to PAX and the game show and that, right? The Game Expo, and you basically that's the people that don't go to footy. They're the they're the misfits. You walk around that crowd, and that's not. Do you remember EB Expo? I mean, there was one in Sydney once, and they had an NRL grand final on
right
a
next to
Sunday.
Homebush, yeah.
And the Saturday was full of people cosplaying and just your normal, your normal pop culture crowd. No, it was really cool. And then on Sunday, suddenly it filled up with buffy blokes with like sleeve tattoos and that, and the whole tone changed from being just whimsical to just a little bit sort of menacing.
That was the thing there for a while, and that was
It's
like
a different crowd.
It was like PAX avoids Melbourne Cup now. Specific goes out of its way to avoid Caulfield Cup and all the racing.
I remember somebody used to work on the show, walked out dressed as an Animal Crossing character, looking pretty cute.
Yeah,
it wasn't you, but it could have been you. And every drunk guy that got off the train from Melbourne Cup wanted to be a boyfriend.
Yeah.
It was just a man. I've been to the Melbourne Cup before. I don't have any real respect for that. I've been to footy, Melbourne Cup, cricket. That I would prefer to go to a pop culture convention every day of the week. Yeah. It's a nicer crowd. It's not threatening. They're not drunk. That's a main part of it. PAX and that don't sell alcohol, which is fantastic.
It's funny though, because obviously Glitch is a nightclub event, and we for the same venue that we have, we can get away with having 3 to 4 less security guards than if we had an event for other communities. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we can go to legal minimums and not a single fight, not a single, like occasional intoxes and stuff.
I've never seen a fight at any. I've been to EB Expos. I've been to, remember Andrea's things down at the Frankston, the
PGX, yeah.
I've been to Tokyo Game Show. I've been to the Game Expo, obviously. I have never seen a punch on. I've been at footy matches where I've seen 3 or 4 punch ons in a 2-hour period.
And they haven't even bounced it. There's no centre bounce yet. Yeah.
So it's like it is a different. It is the misfits, and it's not that sort of aggressive thing. But it's a lovely crowd. I just believe that there's more scope that's unused.
Yes.
But I don't like how PAX and that the PAX tries to be everything for everybody and take it. I think if you spread PAX across 2 things, because it was very large, I'd like to see more regular.
Well, a little bit of an inside line. That is why TGX is in March. We offer the counterpoint start of the year. It does something a little bit more unique, a little bit more community driven in that sense, and that's where PAX started. But then obviously PAX got bought by Repop and was working with Repop.
PAX is a juggernaut, a worldwide juggernaut.
Absolutely.
If anybody's wondering about the TGA, the Game Expo, go to thegameexpo.com.
Yeah. I hear there's a website there.
Yeah. The guy that made the website's good, although his daughter keeps telling him to make a dark mode.
Nice. That's spot the zoomer, right? Like, yeah.
Heard a rumor that needs a dark mode, Dad. But go to the Game Expo and just check that out. It's the first one. It effectively opens the year, doesn't it?
Yes. So we've just put volunteer applications and stuff up as well. So
yeah, it's a good expo. So but yeah.
All right, on that note, I think we're done. So newgameplus.tv, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, New Game Plus TV. Don't forget to check it all out. We'll be back next week with some more podcasting. We'll be back on TV soon as well. I'll have more to announce soon for that. Yeah, and then hopefully
you got Cringy on?
Yeah, he's doing more.
He's a star.
He's doing all the work as always. And then I'll hopefully sitting up here for more streams coming up as well. So we'll catch you guys soon. See you next time.